So this is how you turn $50,000 into $1.7 million. Let's see how this guy did it. Let's go. All right, Bitcoin GameStop and NeoBets turned this flight attendant into a millionaire. This is one hell of a story, guys. Now he's wagering it in one final push to get to that $3 million bucks. Andrew Dillwood, it is 3 million or bust by 2025. Here he is. Look at him going. Okay, this just made headlines recently. It's crazy. Egyptian-born resident of Dubai to recently turn $50,000 in savings into $1.7 million on a series of white knuckle bets on Bitcoin. Chinese electric vehicle maker NIO and video game retailer GameStop Corp over a 4-year period. Okay, let's see how he's done it. He saved about $40,000 over 4 years, invested the entire amount in Bitcoin. The balls on him, right? And that happened around $4,200 between August 13 and 28th of 2017, accumulating 9.71 tokens. Now, this is where it gets really gangster. Then he goes and sells them cold, right? So the buyer wanted to wire him the sale proceeds that Dawood felt more comfortable meeting him in a public place. He arranged to meet them in a nearby Dubai mall. He accepted 370,000 Emirati dirham, which was equivalent of $100,000 at the time, exchange of 5.76 Bitcoin. And then what he did was then he went and bought 15,500 shares of NIO at $4.64 and another chunk 6,500 shares at $4.12 as the stock slipped, before making a final purchase of 2,055 shares at $12.78 in July. And all of these cost him a little over $125,000, including additional $25,000 that he accumulated from winning bets on Organigram Holdings, which is something auxiliary that he did. Anyway, and then in January 2020, he sold his NIO, then his profit totaling now at $1.124 million. Now, good on him for doing that. So he didn't diversify at all. He just went chunk, 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 and he's now at $1.12 million. So what does he do now? He goes and buys GME at 22 bucks, and then he sells them at $33. Now, people are going, oh, he could have made so much more money doing that if he was just a bit more patient. But look, with retrospect, you can say whatever you want. Now he's at 1.7 million. And then what he did was then he put it back into NIO thinking that it's going to go back to $100, but it didn't. So he kind of lost out a little bit. And so what he's doing now, he's doing what's called covered calls, which I'll make a video on about later on, which he makes, you know, some money, some passive income through that as well. Now he's trying to make a final bet so that he can turn that $1.7 million into $3 million. Now, but that I think is kind of stupid, because I don't really recommend anyone to trade this way, because this is just silly. Yes, the wins are great, and these are the stories that you hear of, and you know what, 99.999% of people who trade this way, they lose all their money. If I was him, I would probably just chuck that $1.7 million into S&P 500. I wouldn't add any money in there, and then at around about 9% return after about 8 years, right? He's then going to be making $3.38 million anyway. So, and that's a pretty risk-free way of making that $3 million that he wants to make. He just wants to get there quicker, but you know, there are much more risk-free ways of managing that money. And look, how am I so sure that index funds like S&P 500 is going to return that 9%? Well, it's because, look, since the inception, index has returned a historical annualized average rate of return around 10% since the inception through to 2019. And you know, 2020 and 21, it did even better. So if you look at these numbers here, these are the returns that on a yearly basis that S&P 500 was able to make since 1970. So having said that, I think what he's doing is something kind of even slightly, I mean, you could call him smart and you could call him, you know, some sort of a genius that he was able to make these mad calls. But I would suggest that moving forward, I think he should really look at ways of making risk-free options so that he can better manage his money than trying to just go into 2025 and going to 0 or 3 million by then. So yeah, I thought I'd just do a bit of a coverage on this one, making you guys aware of how people are trading and how probably you shouldn't trade, even though this kind of news is really, really sexy for you to hear. But there are strategies and mechanisms that you need to put in place so that you actually get rich the correct way as well. So congratulations to this guy, and look, all the best of endeavors for you guys who are in the trading game at the moment. And yeah, make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow this channel if you want to understand how best to manage your money and to invest your money so that it goes into the right places. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you next time. Peace.